Yeah, he's literally the seventh circle of hell.
I'm just not convinced that it makes it better.
You guys were off the pack.
Oh, no. What? I think he was the best player who didn't get a spot by far. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports Podcast. I'm your host, Josh. SalvationsElite to my right is Bash _ Bo3 Sam, and to our not farthest right, or to our farthest right, but not per usual, is the I Hold Shift. And today, boys and girls, we got a lot to talk about. Stage 2, week 1 is in the books. We got stage 2 predictions today, and let me tell you, they're going to be spicy. Not to mention, we have a lot to talk about. I mean, talk about some roster changes that already happened, including Jimbo and Paris in that debut, and then some potential roster changes with the New York Subliners and the catastrophe that's going on in New York. We've seen enough movies about New York disasters in New York, and here's another one. But before we get any of that, guys, I gotta ask, boys and girls, what's going on?
Well, Josh, I'm feeling a sense of mania. A sense of lunacy, you may say. And I'm wondering what has caused this profound personality change. And then I looked down at my calendar and realized it's March Madness time, baby.
It
I don't know if you can see that at all.
It is.
But it's March Madness.
The whole month.
And I'm saucy. I've got my Indiana Red Steppers zip up on right now, which, by the way, if you're not familiar, the Red Steppers are the marching band's dance team, which it's typically filled with the ladies who did not make the cheerleading or the actual dance squad.
And so I see why you have it.
Thank you. See, I knew that someone would pick up on this quickly, but they wear these big red boots and they kick and stuff. But I was in the drum line. I found this laying around our drum line hall, so I decided to take it, and now it's fine.
Likely cover up story. You couldn't make the cheerleader squad, and then suddenly they sent you down. We get it.
You wouldn't believe my flexibility.
Look at that. We got a debut of the knees. I wouldn't even guess you had
No one's ready.
Confirmed. Shift has knees.
Confirmed, guys. Yo, CDO Crone, where you at? Come on. But man, like I said, gonna be a fun one today. Rex was bogged down. It's tax season. He works with tax stuff, and so he worked some double shifts, and he was, no pun intended, and was in the mix today. So he was like,
he was in the bocage today.
Emergency.
He was in the cage.
He was in the cage, and so luckily, Shift was here, coming off of his own double shift with some COD. Some college COD casting. So we're rocking and rolling. But like always, you guys can watch on YouTube. You can listen on Apple Podcasts. You can listen on Spotify. You can drop those 5-star reviews on, Apple Podcasts, maybe even on Spotify one day. And those comments on YouTube are always appreciated. And today we have a lovely review. Sam, what do you got for us?
Okay, so I did read this one before, and it's I've got some problems with it.
Sam tried to duck out of this one. All right, guys. He was like, "Wow, look at this guy," and then this is what happened here.
All right, I'll read it. You know what? I don't hide from stuff. We don't hide from bad reviews. This was a 5-star review though, so
of course,
from Grant RX, title Great Show.
I mean, without a doubt.
Fun show that separates itself apart from the abundance of new COD podcasts. Love the dynamic with Josh being the brainiac, Nero being the comedian, and Bash being the awkward guy. What?
Dude, I love this so much. Normally, it's them pandering to you, and then today, it's just slap, just straight to the face.
Legit, I can't stop thinking about it. I'm the awkward guy. Like, what? I never thought about it. But,
calm down, man.
Man.
Hey, what about this, though, Sam? Because you and I, we always vibe when we're on this show together.
We do.
Maybe, and this is just a guise of the whole, I'm the host of the podcast. Maybe Josh is the awkward guy, and maybe he just plays it off because he hosts.
Yeah. You know what? I think how this should have read was,
no,
Bash is the brainiac, Nero being the comedian, and Josh being the awkward guy.
Don't expose me.
Here's the thing. Now I'm gonna get it in my head, so I'm gonna have to like really double down here and not get it. Not let it get to my head, because now I'm just like the awkward guy, and I don't know how to get out of that. That's gonna be my brand now.
Yeah,
that's okay.
I mean,
it's okay though.
That's not too bad. Your brand paired with the London Royal Ravens and Draza. I mean, one of the three's got to work.
You're the worst.
I'm here for all of those takes.
Thank you.
I'm the biggest London fan.
I'm glad Shift Tears for this week, because need some backup.
But it's been a blast, boys. It's been a blast. We appreciate the lovely comment or the lovely review.
Yes,
always
thank you,
do.
Grant. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, a Brainiac. Last week, what the only prediction got wrong was FaZe, and who would have guessed? Like, come on,
nobody.
But
we're even on our predictions, by the way, Josh. We're tied, I think. Or are you up one?
That's a good question.
On
I'm not
breaking
sure.
point.
Oh,
we should.
I don't
check
know.
that.
I'm actually not sure.
Check. I had a good week too, prediction wise.
Wait, actually, I don't think I have my. Oh yeah, I'm not sure. But that's a good question. But anyway, long story short.
Oh, you're up one. You're actually winning right now. You're up by one.
Don't give it to him, Shift. Just let him think that he's losing.
You're an idiot. I hate you.
Things you love to see.
Yes.
Brainiac, remember, hashtag Brainiac. But as you guys know, we brought on a recent new partner of the show. Shout out PrizePicks. And they are a lovely daily fantasy app for Call of Duty and also for all sports. And you actually you can pick over-unders on players and play the over-unders. And you can actually pair like COD pros with like golfers. And it's been a blast, because you can actually it's a blast. You can do NBA or anything else too. And nothing like throwing an over-under on like Scump for kills and then throwing over-under on Jordan Spieth for birdies. I mean, come on. That's about as good as life can get right there. So I don't really know what else you want.
By the way, on Jordan Spieth for birdies, just so you know. You're going the under.
Yeah, it's tough.
Life is long. Go with the under.
Life is long. Go with the under. I felt pretty good about my picks last week. On Sunday, I usually just aim for one day a week. I'm like, all right, I'm liking these today. I'm going to knock these out. And Sunday was an over on Standy. Eked it out. He had a really nice control, and then Skies dominated, obviously. So that was really good. So happy about that one, and we're rocking and rolling, and I think all of us have been enjoying it. So use code BO3Picks when you sign up. You get $100. Oh, I'm sorry. BO3Pod is the code. The Twitter hashtag is BO3Picks.
There you go.
So use the code BO3Pod, and they'll double your initial deposit on PrizePicks. Up to $100. And so who doesn't want double your money? I mean, that sounds like a great time. I think you should use code BO3POD. And then tweet us your picks, hashtag BO3Picks on Twitter. And that'll get you entry into a giveaway for merch here in Stage 2. So there's a win-win-win all the way around. And you can win by playing the right over-unders on PrizePicks. So I think this is a pretty good deal for you guys. Loving it. So rock and roll. Shout out PrizePicks. Without further ado, guys, we got a lot to get into, so let's get right into the news of the week.
The Call of Duty News of the Week.
All right, so there isn't that much news of the week this week. I'll be honest. I was putting up a front. The biggest thing here is there's about 2 or 3 things that we're going to talk some challengers, and that's what gets really spicy. So off the rip, the big thing is that CDL picked up a new sponsor. They announced a multi-year deal with Aimlab as a new sponsor, and they're no free shout-outs. And it's also going to be the presenting sponsor of Challengers. So Challengers is picking up some good news there. I mean, hopefully, maybe they divert some funds that direction. That'd be great. And a little bit more cash. So that's news piece number 1. News piece number 2 is that the Challengers LAN placement for the Minnesota LAN will now be the qualifier for the mid-season amateur v pro LAN. Massive. So that is massive. Yeah. I mean, that is a huge change. And so this kind of transitions us pretty well into our kind of challengers conversation. But obviously, I want to hear your opinion on this first. How do you feel about the year-long so far pro points versus the one LAN tournament in Minnesota to determine who goes to the mid-season LAN? Or the mid-season Pro-Am?
This is a tough one because I'm a huge fan of Aimlab. I've loved their integration into the Valorant space. I think the way that they have built custom training exercises off of Valorant pros is freaking dope. So in that COD Gamepedia post talking about how, they're going to be an official partner, I think the idea of being able to incorporate that is super awesome. And then being able to prove it from like an established path to pro ladder is actually brilliant as far as this overall marketing, right? Like that's the whole premise of the program is you use it and you eventually get good enough to be a pro. That's essentially what I think the mentality is they're trying to build. So that's great news.
For sure.
In terms of the open, I really, really wish we would have gotten this information before the team passes were available to be sold. Because
that's actually, I didn't even think about that connection.
Think about all the teams from Australia.
Were there some players who missed out on that?
I assume so. I know Renegades got a pass, but I don't know if anybody else did. And, for what it's worth, I don't know how many of those teams really be competitive for a top 4 spot. But regardless,
they want their chance.
That's their one chance. It's their one window is to do it through that. And it's a difficult situation because Minnesota had already predetermined that this was only going to be 96 teams, period. So it's like, how many team passes do you reserve for the potential purchase of top tier teams from each region?
Right. Do you reserve, should they have reserved some for the top 32 because this literally is the qualifiers for those types of things?
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest, I think, logistical, unideal situation. It's still going to be great. Don't get me wrong. It's still going to be great. But you might have, and I know for a fact that people on the TL, it's just like, got a team pass looking for 3 players. And you've got like the number 2 team from APAC going,
we don't have a team pass.
And now we don't get a chance to play for Pro-Am. Like,
unless they pick up that kid.
Unless they pick up that kid. Or, I'll literally buy it for 10 times its worth. I think that there is something to be said about logistically, how do we handle this in the future? Especially if they are going to be limiting how many total teams are going to be allowed at the event in the first place. I would have loved to have seen like the top 16 from NA, the top 16 from EU, and the top 8 from APAC get the chance to buy early. And we'll say top 8 from LATAM as well. Give them the chance to buy early. So that way, for a fact, you're going to be getting the best teams that have been representative in Challengers Elite for both North America and Europe. And then you get some of the most elite teams potentially if they want to travel from APAC in Latin America. That's probably the only way that you can really handle it moving forward. But I'm pumped about the fact that we're going to be knowing for a fact that our top 4 teams are going to be the best 4 teams in Challengers. They're going to be off LAN. It's going to be, you don't have to worry about like how many slots do we give to the Pro-Am from North America? How many slots do we give to Europe? You qualify, it doesn't matter where you're from.
Did cheaters qualify? Like those types of things, like for sure. Like you get rid of those questions. I agree. It is unfortunate considering like some of the teams, you're like, man, we grinded all this way and we still have to win one tournament to get there. But like, isn't that the point of competition at the end of the day, I guess?
Absolutely it is. Agreed.
I'm with you. I think it is pretty exciting. Then we're going to get to 4. And like, if you're going to be competing on LAN against pros, you probably want teams who understand the pressure of competing on LAN just to qualify to get there. I think that makes sense. Sam, are you on the same page?
Yeah, no, I didn't even think about that like whole like logistics wise. And I was like, that's a good point for obviously planning and that kind of stuff. And I'm hopefully, like you said, in the future, they take that into consideration and they have all this planned out before even like the whole season starts. So, but otherwise I'm excited for it and I can't wait to watch it truly. So
for sure.
Been a long time since we've had an event like this. Minnesota launch weekend was the last time we had an event.
That's what's insane. It's been literally like a year and a half, 2 years basically, about 2 years since the last Challengers LAN, full massive Challengers LAN, right? Because we had like the small one in Atlanta and then like the EU one, LA, and
wasn't there one in Paris?
And then the one in Paris. That was the last one that I went to, and that was the last overall. That was actually the last Challengers LAN was the Paris one, which is crazy. Oh yeah, I forgot. We literally just hit that 2-year anniversary a few days ago, or like 2 weeks ago.
It would be 2 years. Yeah, that's wow.
Yeah,
wow,
that's
wow.
insane.
Warfare was 2 years ago.
Crazy. Holy, dude.
That's depressing. Honestly, we should stop talking about that. So the next topic, and we're throwing this ball into your court here. This is Challengers. I want to hear everything you have to say about kind of where we're at in the Challenger scene right now. Obviously, with Elite Series qualifiers now, and then now the playoffs coming up. Where are we at heading into this Minnesota LAN? What are your thoughts? What are you looking for? What teams are exciting? Obviously, starting the NA side, Texas Nation has been
Sure.
the team.
Mhm.
Yeah. And look, there have been people who have been out there saying like Texas Nation are winning more maps because they've got literally quad Texas, and like sometimes they're on like less than double digit ping.
Mhm.
Right.
So there's something to be said about that. However, I think all 4 of those players right now are in some combination guaranteed top 10 players in challengers, at least North America. It's hard to really compare EU and NA together, but
Right.
the things that we've seen out of Havoc have been really lights out impressive. But I'll be the first one to admit the first player that I'm actually most impressed with out of that roster is freaking Brezzy, dude.
Brezzy.
He's nuts. And I think just in the role he runs, he's probably one of the more valuable players to a potential CDL team.
The French phenom?
Yeah, the OG French phenom.
The OG.
Yeah.
Truly.
OG. Yeah. So I think there's something to be said
wild.
about what that team's been able to do.
Yeah, well, because they're on a 5 tournament win streak at this
winning
point,
streak.
including the Elite Stage 1, where they were also first
Yep.
place in the stage itself. Then
Yep.
into the playoffs, they won, right? So
Yeah, they're nasty. They're super good.
yeah, that dates back to January 16th, where they won Cup 4. So that's
Cup
literally
4.
2 months of dominance.
Jeez.
Yep, that was before the first elite qualifier that came through. So, I mean, yeah, they have been lights out, super good. And the thing about it is, and I had this conversation with Slacked on First Blood, no free shout outs.
Oh, of course. Shout out.
He would brought up the comment that he's like, man, I don't know, like Pro-Am, I just don't see many of these challengers teams even competing with the worst pro teams. And I was like, well, the things that from Texas Nation, like they are playing Search and Destroy better than
I mean,
I'll be
that's my
generous.
one-
half of the CDL teams right now.
Mhm.
At least half.
Yeah, I mean S&D's where that they'd make their bread without a doubt. Where the amateur teams are going to find their success is Search and Destroy. I mean, like that's where they're guaranteed to at least be competitive.
Yep.
And I mean, not to mention this is what we saw last year, and especially considering like this time of year now, I think it's at least interesting heading into the amateur, the Pro-Am here. What are the dates on that again? Mid-April.
Yeah, so it's the same. The Pro-Am. That's the first week of May. It's
First week
over
of May.
Cinco de Mayo.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
it is going to be pretty interesting timing. Where like, I mean, the AMs at this point have played so much competitive Call of Duty. Like,
Right.
the difference will be the LAN experience, maybe from the pros, could probably be the X factor there. I mean, at the end of the day, like that's obviously what's going to be always an X
It's
factor.
huge.
But yeah, it
But
is
like,
crazy.
But like honestly, too, like a lot of these guys have been pros in the past, and I've
well,
played,
that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, like
played on
Kismet,
main stage
Havoc,
before, too.
General,
Yeah.
Brezzy, even like dating back to World War II, BO4. Like,
Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
all
Which,
done
like,
it before.
Yeah, like you can say like recency, like they haven't been like the top recently, but honestly, like Shift said, I think some of these guys are currently playing better than like you said, like half the pro teams right now. So
In Search.
Search,
There
yeah.
are
For sure.
things. Yeah, there are things that I think are left desired when you watch some of the pro teams play Hardpoint, and then especially Control when it turns to ticks and not
Mhm.
kills.
Yeah, that'll be
I
interesting.
think that's gonna be a huge dividing line, not just in the CDL, but I also think between challengers and the pros as well.
Well, I mean, like,
Um,
because I'm sure we can probably get into that later too, but like that's going to create literally a whole new meta shift when it comes to the value of
Agreed.
offense.
Yep.
Because right now, offense is so unimportant. It's like, it's just
Well,
nothing.
it's important. I mean, it's just like you have to be able to be competitive on
You
your
can't
offensive
be
halves,
outslayed.
right?
I mean, that's
Correct.
it's just a weird, it's a completely different shift in what we're used to when it comes to Control right now. It's just,
Yeah.
it's painful. But yeah, it is interesting. So like outside of Texas Nation, obviously, are there other teams that get you excited, interested, keeping an eye on maybe individual players?
Rokkr Academy, send the Vamos, brother. Those guys are the truth for multitude of reasons. You know, I think a lot of people were looking at Minnesota and saying like, all right, if this role swap doesn't work out, how feasible is it that you could pull a Lucky or a Real from Spain to come join your squad, if you would even want to do that in the first place? Now, fortunately for Priest and Attached, this role swap seems to be working out for them.
Yeah,
So I don't think that's really on the table
relatively
anymore.
at least.
Yeah, and so I think that those teams out of Europe are going to be pretty nasty. I thought Toronto Ultra Academy did a really nice job with both rosters they picked up in both Europe and North America. Obviously,
Yeah,
North
because that was
American
the
one-
face-off of the grand finals this week in the Cup, right? It was Ultra versus Rokkr Academy.
Yep, and it was a really good series in week one of the group stage as well. The North American team obviously features Hixie. The EU team features what was a lot of like the money form squad
Beans,
and all that
Furious,
stuff.
Harry, and Vortex.
Team's really good, man. Furious is looking nuts right now. I think he is, again, really kind of the biggest riser right now in the second stage when it comes to
without
the
a doubt, right?
Yeah, has to be. Exciting teams all across the board. And then I'm pumped to see APAC give themselves a go again in the Challengers region. Because if you remember, Renegades and Mind Freak, or Chiefs, one of the two, whatever they are known as, during the Minnesota launch weekend, both of them finished top 12. Renegades finished top 6. So, like, APAC can play, man. They're not to be slept on. And then who knows what happens with the LATAM teams. I hope we see a couple of them. And hopefully they play well and they play competitively with the rest of the world. So I'm pumped to see it.
Yeah, for sure.
Dang.
I'm right with you there. I think it's going to be a blast, man. And we're going to learn a lot. Like,
A lot will be learned, bro.
Hopefully there's enough coverage of it where we can actually like really get some good eyes on it, because that'd be exciting too. So that's what we're hoping to hear from. So, okay, so we just got maybe a little bit of potentially breaking news on the podcast as we were editing on Reddit, or as we were recording. Shotzi basically got caught in 4K. There was a clip of like 8s, and basically one of them in the call said, yeah, PaulEhx is on a team. And when you pair that with the idea that Paul was like saying he just got the vaccine, and New York has really tough vaccine passports and all of those things, all signs are pointing to that he's on the New York Subliners. We don't know for who yet. We don't know what that would look like, but this is we are gonna throw this conversation in the news segment, because it's gonna preset some of our future conversations in the episode, because even though we're getting this right at the end of our recording, so take that for a grain of salt. But it is very fascinating. So what's your like initial like reaction to PaulEhx to New York, if that's what's happening?
I mean,
he played great.
Yeah, he did.
Prim or Clay, who's out? Who do you think? If
Or
it was
is
up
it
to you,
Neptune?
is it just Neptune? Do you think Paul runs SMG?
I think he gives it a go. So, I mean, all of our conversations that we've had about this New York team, whether it be on this podcast right now in this particular episode or previously,
For sure.
has largely been about the fact that you need another dedicated, solid sub that can get into the mix with Hydra.
True.
Because, and I don't know how you're editing this in, but like, there's no reason that Crim and Clay together as two main ARs cannot work, because there's plenty of teams that are running double ARs. So it just like, if you're going to use Paul, because the sub in for Neptune, are you fixing your problem of not having a great second SMG? Because the thing about it is, like, business wise, it's very difficult to get rid of Crim or Clay. They're taking up 90% of your capital.
Right.
So like, you can't just get rid of them, and you're not. And the thing is, like, there's really not an option to trade with anybody because everyone's good at AR right now.
Yeah, there's not any obvious landing spot for either of them. It'd be easier to dish Crim probably because he can flex, but like I just don't see that as a possibility.
I think Paul runs sub. I think you drop Neptune and Paul runs sub.
And then if it doesn't work, then because having Paul gives you flexibility, because you can move. You can either trade Crim, you can either trade Clay, or bench either of them, and then you can bring up Paul if you need to, bring in a sub, or you can keep Paul at SMG, try to work that out. There's definitely options there. So I get what you're saying for sure. Man, that's fascinating.
Insane. I'd be curious. Yeah,
I mean, I think I like the idea of it. Paul's such a good S&D player. Really? I think like this team at first could be a 2-3-5 team, where you see this team being a very good S&D team with Paul. And then, because that's right now Neptune has not been a good S&D player. And so you replace him with who is a naturally very good S&D player in Paul. Make that a 2-3-5 team, and over time you work out the hard point, see if it works with Crim and Clay. If it doesn't, by the end of stage 2, then you're making another change. Bring in another guy who can help in hard point, and then I think you're rocking and rolling. I think it makes sense, gives you flexibility.
I don't love it. I love Paul in the league, personally.
Absolutely.
Right. I think he was the best player who didn't get a spot by far.
The thing is, like, I know that Paul has been able to prove himself running an SMG, not just in this title, but he also did it for a while in Cold War. But I still think of Paul, and I think of AR Paul.
Yeah.
Right.
AR Paul. Paul and Gravity together. That's all I can think about is Wester. Paul and Gravity together. And this team needs another sub, man.
Yeah. Ultimately, yeah.
I mean, they can just main Gavutu, man. Just Gavutu gods.
Just
The
main
only
Gavutu.
the thing that I can't get off of with this news is like the only way this efficiently really makes sense is if Crimmer Clay is not playing. Because then you have the ability to run Paul as an actual true flex. But I still don't think Neptune's a good option. And I know there's a lot of people that think that's like pick up Paul and pick up somebody else for Neptune, which I think is probably, honestly, as far as efficiency margins are concerned, those are probably the best options. But just picking up Paul for Neptune doesn't feel like it solves anything.
Yeah, that's fair. I could see it. I just think at least you improve an S&D and then you go from there. That'd be my,
Yeah, but you can't win this. You can't win a series off of winning the 2-5.
Well, ask Toronto.
But at least they were able to win in control. I don't think this team was any better in control.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did see. I mean, they did win the Gavutu control. I mean, like that was a really impressive series against London. They broke the offensive record for most kills, and like there was some nice upside there. And you saw Clay dominate that map, so at least we've seen some potential there.
Yeah,
not hot on it. Not gonna lie.
Interesting.
Hot on Paul. Not hot on that move for that team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually pretty excited. Sam, where's your hotness levels?
I'm mid, man. I don't know.
You're so awkward.
I'm so awkward, bro. Just don't even ask me. I don't even know why I'm on the show.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, just get me off.
Oh, I will.
What the heck?
Let's move on. Oh my God.
What kind of a podcast did this just turn into?
It is really late. I mean, it's kind of at the point where
I'm delirious.
It's getting delirious. So, okay. Yeah. That's the end of the news. This is the end of the segment. Goodbye from the future us. All right, well, I'm down to like basically just go straight into predictions today and use the meat of today to break down. And predictions is what we're going to use is the breakdown of last week in our predictions because there's so much to talk about. So it's going to be jam-packed, and then we'll get into the hot seat and do our weekly hot seat rankings once again. And there's probably some new faces on the hot seat this week potentially. So there's going to be it's going to be a fun one. So without further ado, guys, let's get right into these predictions, boys. Let's get it. Oh, it's prediction time, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and breakdown time. So we got a lot to talk about because it was a weird week of Call of Duty. I mean, like, in some ways predictable, but in many, so not. Like, I feel like we learned so much this week. And then, like, obviously, when it comes to PaulEhx being there and Jimbo, there's just a lot to talk about today. So, I think as we go through it, we'll take our sweet time going through this, but we'll kind of use it as our breakdowns for these teams as we get to them for their first matchups. And so off the rip here, we got our first matchup of the weekend, London versus Paris, the EU showdown.
I wonder.
And so we have something to have. What are you guys' thoughts here?
It's going to be a real close one. If you are London, stand up.
I love that you just got like belligerent when you started saying that.
Yes, I'm drunk.
It's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it.
No, I mean, okay.
We can obviously talk more about it, but it's going to be 3-0 London, obviously. So let's talk about it.
Gizmo's back. We got it. We got this PaulEhx fever dream for a week, and they were cooking.
They were.
Do you feel like you learned anything about this team this weekend, or any like new thoughts spring to mind, even with Paul in the lineup?
Here's the thing. Yeah. I'm gonna just take this from like the super deep analytical standpoint.
Oh, I love that.
You know when a team is fantastic when you see how well Paul was just inserted in and nothing changed from the team's protocol standpoint.
The weird thing is, everything they performed better. Like,
well, compared to the major, right? Like, I'm this is unfair, but like I'm kind of eliminating the major from my mind when it comes to London. I like, as much as I would love to be able to sit there and talk about them, I still think that like the things that Gizmo had tweeted, like I really do believe that there is something deep going on.
Right, you wouldn't just go home for
family.
This and miss games for no reason. Right,
exactly. So, as much as I still love what I saw from London from that major, outside of a couple of performances from Gizmo in particular versus OpTic and versus
FaZe
Atlanta.
and OpTic. Yeah.
Everything else about this team you see how good they are because of the protocols that they play. There was this one moment on the control that they had played versus Thieves on Gavudu where it was Zero overwatching from green defensively on top, watching the top side of A on the ship. You had Paul playing
Zero's
through
just
ring.
a turret on Gavutu. He does not move.
So good.
He's just, but he's just he's a general.
Yeah, Paul playing the flex took over ring and held their stone staircase. And then as soon as those positions were taken, you saw Nasty hit one side, Afro hit the other, and then the ARs flooded behind. It was literally just a clinical setup, and that was one of many times that you saw that. So this London team is not just good because they're individually talented. They may be the best overall team right now in the CDL.
Chemistry is
it's interesting.
high.
I mean, obviously OpTic's a tough sell to sell OpTic though. I don't know. If you're playing Tuscan against OpTic, good luck. So I guess that's the question. is OpTic playing London on Tuscan or Gavutu? But yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, I agree with you though, like with Zero, it is interesting because like I think, he just plays slow. He really is embodying like just a pure just main AR right now. Like he's just
really
chilling
good, dude.
And letting
really
his guys slay in front of him. And like an S&D, like we saw in Desert Siege, like how Zero just kind of plays slow, plays his life, finds information, which opens up the map for Nasty and Afro to make plays. And like even PaulEhx, we see how naturally talented Paul is in S&D, which is, I think, something he can bring to any team. We saw that, last year too. He's just naturally playmaker in S&Ds. So it is interesting. I mean, man, I thought it was absolutely chalk for London. Like, all right, you're playing LA Thieves. I mean, I would imagine most people thought this, but like, you're playing LA Thieves, man down, 2 days practice. Like, this is so chalk. And then they come out 3-0 them. And you're like, what is, I was like in this whirlwind, this mental hurricane. Like, what is happening?
Never a doubt, Josh. Never a doubt. Come on.
Right. Because like the NYSL win makes sense, but like LAT, like 3-0, they beat them worse than they beat NYSL.
Yeah.
Like,
no. It truly was impressive. Even me being the biggest London supporter, I was nervous for that game. But I mean, they do. It seems like they have like the best chemistry in the game right now. Like it's impressive.
Guys are nasty, bro. I'm telling you. I think you get Gizmo set up correctly. He's ready to go. I think this London team will. I think they win at least 2 of their final 3 games, but I think they have a shot at beating Atlanta. Truly, I do.
Well, I mean, right now, who knows? It's so hard to tell. Like, I don't know if anyone has a shot to beat Atlanta except for Seattle. Every time, it doesn't matter. Like, as long as it's Seattle, it's over. I don't know. It's crazy, but I'm with you. It really is impressive. So
and
I
then
don't
even
know.
too, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I feel like even the series for Subliners, Nasty didn't even have to like do like crazy amount of work. Like I think on the prize pick, I had him on the over, but he actually didn't get the over.
It didn't hit. Yeah, I mean they did play 2 Gavutus.
Yeah,
That's
so
tough.
Which definitely makes sense. When you're playing the Gavutu near a sub, it's kind of hard. But I mean, again, it just goes to show. I think like you don't require Nasty like to go like insanely off for this team to like play.
But that's the thing is it's felt like
well.
it's either Afro or Nasty, and one of them just has an insane map. Like like in the NYSL one, like that was Afro's map. He was just going off.
It was Afro. Yeah, I was about to say.
And he couldn't lose a gunfight that map. It felt like so. It's just like. Yeah, I mean, right now, Afro and Nasty have some of the best gun skill in the CDL right now. When you pair that with Gizmo, I mean, it's insane. And then Zero is just chill, calm, leadership,
just doing his thing,
and a turret. Like he plays he's as good as anyone right now. So it is really fun to watch, and we'll see. It's weird to like learn and take away from them, but you found out that they're still legit, regardless. So on the other side of the coin, let's talk about Paris then.
They were close.
Oh, Paris.
They were close.
Just so many thoughts. Many thoughts.
Were they close?
I was talking to Josh, Mike. That should have been a 3-1.
I mean, yeah, that was tough from Standy. Like, oh no.
Yeah. You can't be doing that if you're Standy with the last hard point.
Like,
but,
they lose 3-0 to LAG. They lose 3-2 to Minnesota. They get reverse swept by Minnesota. That first hard point against LAG, immediately you're like, oh no. Because I don't know if you heard that listening, where Temp was like, yo, we're not listening. And then like ASIM was just piecing them. Like, they could not kill ASIM third story. You're like, bro, any other team, some nade is coming in to kill ASIM top third story, but nothing was happening for a trade. ASIM literally just sat there the whole time. Like, what are you doing, boys? And like, so after that, I was a little bit nervous, but then they come out and they win 2 against Minnesota. So
well, did they?
Well,
was it more of a self-destruct?
They won one versus they won an S&D versus Minnesota. That's a good win.
And it was a Tuscan S&D.
It was a Tuscan. So that means something at least, right? But I don't know. All right, I don't know, bro. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Here's my whole take on Jimbo: is he is not in a position to succeed. Flat out. It reminds me of the Proto Pander situation from Seattle in Modern Warfare. The Spart situation in LAG that same year. It's actually what it really feels like is almost like what had happened to Paris last year, like with like Fire in that situation where he was never really allowed to play the role that he wanted to play. You're playing from Canada. You have no team facility. Your team clearly doesn't care about you at all organizationally. I'm not going to say the coaches don't. I assume the coaches do, but like, this is the only team that is not playing in the same facility. Not even playing in the same side of the country. They're not even playing for the same country. Like, and this keeps getting worse.
It's
like,
tough. I mean, it was the same. It's similar to like with Royalty when they picked him up, and although I think the ping situation, they were saying the ping wasn't as bad for this series because for some reason, I'm not sure why, but like versus Royalty with when he was playing from Canada. Yeah, but it is tough either way. I mean, I don't know, man. Yeah, it was definitely not a situation where Jimbo set to succeed. And I think I saw, who's that from? Was that from? Someone was talking about it on Twitter. I'm like, it does make sense with Jimbo's play style. It's hard to transfer to the CDL when it comes to like when he's so reliant on gun skill and when English isn't his first language and there could be some English problems there even still now. And like overall, it feels like a tough transition that could take a while if it's going to work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The thing is, you saw Jimbo's tweet. He was like, I have to play better or I'm gone. I know that. The thing that I'm curious about, and maybe this is a topic best saved for later, is like, if you're a Challengers player and you're approached by Paris to play for them and they say, we don't have any facilities, we're going to have you play from your bedroom, do you just turn them down? Like,
they have been the career killers so far.
Jimbo stock, if he doesn't come out and play well next week, he's never going to see the CDL again, bro. He's never going to see it again. His whole career for the CDL is going to be gone if he does not have a better second week at least. Right. Like if he doesn't make it to LAN, he's done. He's done. And that sucks because he's super good.
Yeah. It's almost like the Surge thing last year too with
Pander and Proto.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
that was from MW.
Yeah.
From MW. Like, yeah.
So it's like hard question. Yeah. Decimate with like the one day Surge. It's like, what's better? Is it better to be like play in the Pro League, but like get pooped on and like your stock gets low, or is it better just to stay in Challengers and just grind it out?
But man, it's like the what if. It's like if you say no, but then there's always that like, what if I fried? Like, I don't know how you could possibly turn it down.
Well, I mean, what's interesting too is like the whole like if you remember that I think it was Blast. Was like tweeting about like how
Decimate's never had a real chance.
Decimate's never had a real chance, and so it's
I agree with that. By the way,
where it's like you have these guys who are like they've quote unquote been in the Pro League, and like you can say they've got a chance, but have they really actually gotten a chance truly?
Right.
To like play to their actual skill set, their actual role, and it's hard.
I want to hear your opinion on that because we talked about that a few weeks ago, but I want to hear what you have to say about that with like Decimate or with other pros when it comes to like, I mean, it's kind of been a similar conversation of this when it comes to like turning down maybe a Paris opportunity, but
yeah, I think it's like you could talk about any player, by the way, that's played on Paris over the course of the last couple of years.
Since the CDL started.
Since the CDL started, but I 100% agree. And the thing about that comment from Blast, which really resounded with me, was when they missed out on qualifying for the Pro League at CWL Vegas in Black Ops 4, I was like, bro, these like Blast, Chino, and Desi are going to get picked up in a blink of an eye because they were unbelievable. Like
Yeah.
That team kind of got costed by Ricky and Faceno. I'm not going to lie. Like, they kind of got worked. And like Blastino and Desi for that squad, I think it was G2. Like they were nuts. I remember when I first started doing YouTube content, I was like, who are the next best players who didn't make it into the Pro League? And Blast and Desi and Lacefield, I want to say, were like in my top, like 3 of the top 5.
Right.
And I truly do agree with that because Desi got picked up as well. He was on that LAG team that never got things off the ground. And then the same thing happened when he got, picked up with Paris,
Surge.
where it's just like you never really get into a position to do anything.
Paris, yeah.
So
it's just tough though, because it's like, at what point does a opportunity turn into a real opportunity? You know, because it's such a gray area. Like,
I don't know, man. I still think
if it works,
that
it's a real opportunity, but then that doesn't make sense.
It's hard too, though. Like, with the way Call of Duty is now too, is like you don't get a whole lot, like unless you're like a certain like well-named pro, you don't get a whole lot of opportunity. Like you don't get a whole lot of chances. Like you
the only guys who get a
like
lot of chances are guys who have won championships in the past.
So
which makes sense in that regard. But
so so like in that case, then it's like it's almost better to like hold off. Where it's like I know if I get inserted into Paris, we're just destined to be doomed, no matter like how good your gun skill is. For like an individual, if like the like surrounding assets aren't there, it's like it's not even worth it at this point because like how like the like turnover is so high right now for some teams. It's a tough spot to be in,
dude.
Unfortunately,
I don't know if this is completely accurate.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at COD Gamepedia right now, and I'm looking at all of the long list of former players for Paris. I would not be surprised if it's longer than the 10-man roster plus the current roster that Toronto has.
Ultra, yeah. Jeez, dude.
Like, just listen to the list. It's here. These are just players, by the way.
Right.
Kismet, Zed, Shocks, Phantoms, Luca, Dens, Brezzy, Fire, Classic, Scraps, Aqua, Temp, Zap, Desi, and Fellow.
Oh my word, that's rough.
Holy! I think you could talk about any of those players and be like, dude, all of them could have been incredible, and some of them were incredible, by the way, in Modern Warfare for Paris,
for sure.
Yeah.
They could have been incredible with the proper facilities. I just think Paris is not fulfilling their spot as a pro team, bro. Like they don't have facilities. They barely like this. This might as well just be a challengers team.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what they're trying to do. I mean, they only allowed minimum salaried players to be on this team. So it's like, it is tough. I don't know. I mean, like when it comes to like, let's talk about Gravity for a second. Now that we've seen a little bit more of Gravity, like where are you at with him at this point? Do you think this roster has any chance?
No.
Do you think Gravity and Jimbo have any chance to work in the next, month? Do they make it that far? Is there a change that could potentially work? Like,
the problem for me, and I'm actually really curious to see what you think on this, Sam. The problem with me is Temp is by far the best player on this team.
By far.
And him running the flex this year means that Gravity's ability to shine as a main AR is going to be limited just because Temp is doing a lot for the team.
It's like in a similar situation of Arcee's and Cellium. When Cellium's dropping 35 kills, you're like,
it's hard for Arcee
just
to do much.
Chill.
Yeah. So I think that's the inherent problem for someone like Tom is like, you kind of like, this is the thing is like, every time I talk about this team, if you're one of those players, I feel like you kind of just have to play for yourself, man. Like you're just fighting to stay in the league at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And it hurts for me to say it too. It's like, I've talked about it before on the podcast. I want John to work so bad. I really do. But it's hard when like
he's nearing the end of the leash here.
You need 2 successful SMGs, and right now Paris doesn't have that. And so, like, has there been like one standout series for John? I like every time I watch Paris,
standout maps, maybe moments, like
maps,
even like
maybe, yeah.
Like
when
I know
it comes
in
to, like,
the
series.
Right.
I don't know.
That's the thing. Like, I mean, it was the Tuscan Control where he started off like 14-2 and then he ended up finishing pretty averagely.
Yeah,
like, he's had great moments and like he'll clutch S&Ds and do these things. You're like, all right, there's John. But then it's like things just go horribly wrong after a minute. Yeah, like it just doesn't seem to stick. And I don't know. I mean, Gravity's been fine. Again, he's had some great moments too. Like on land, he had some really nice clutches in S&D. He had some nice 2 pieces, had a really good first series there. The Bocage, those like the 3 piece at the end to win them, the Bocage. Like there was nice moments there. But man, it just seems like it's going to be tough to really dial in.
So do they go for another challengers player for a sub? Like, hey, let's say they drop John. Do they just go? I mean, what do you do?
I don't think you do anything. I
just keep it going.
This is a ship on fire already halfway to the bottom of the seafloor.
Dude, what you do is
still on fire underwater, by the way. That's how badly it's on fire.
Here's a hot take. You trade temp for cash, like a buyout of some sort. You get cash to fund a new roster and pick up actual full-on team of 4. Just like
the only option would be to pick up Texas Nation because they're all in Texas already. Like
that's fair.
I
fair.
Still go back.
But then
to
you have to buy out General, and
go,
that becomes expensive.
Well, yeah, that's true. You can't just go back to we're just going to find 4 new players across the country. Like,
agreed.
They have no facilities.
Yeah, that's actually insane.
They're the only team that's not living in the same location. How do you like? And I had this whole conversation with a couple of different people, and I think I also talked about this with Slack. Is like successful organizations don't just find the best players; they build the right culture. That's why coaches like Rambo Ray are so good. He's building a culture with the teams that he finds himself with.
And that's what OpTic was missing last year. I mean, even like last year, was talking about like there was no like competitive. What's the identity of this competitive OpTic gaming? Like there wasn't one.
I agree.
So I think that was what was needed for OpTic, and it makes a lot of sense that Rambo's working so well.
Because the thing about it is, like at Paris right now, you're scared. They're literally Jimbo's going to come out next week, play scared. Guarantee you, because he knows it's his last chance to stay in the league. So he's not going to be playing.
And again, that first series, you're like, when Temps is getting that pissed and like it was literally so disorganized, you're like, this is horrible. Like this looks like a league play team. Which to be fair, they haven't had a lot of practice. So I mean, like I get it. But at the same time, like they are pros. I'm surprised it's not working. You know, like to that extent.
Especially for teams like New York, which we'll talk about later, I assume.
Yeah, exactly. So all right, prediction time. Thoughts? London 3-0. Is there any other option?
No.
I'm with you. It's gonna be a 3-0.
Yeah. What would you even give them? Nothing.
I mean, maybe a control.
Maybe an S&D.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, just it's hard to see like what you play Desert Siege or something like probably.
And even still, like their Desert Siege record's not.
No,
you have to play Berlin. Like
Berlin,
like their best option.
London's 2-6 on Berlin. They're 4-0 on Desert Siege, 1-0 Bocage.
Yeah, you have to play Berlin.
Fair enough. All right, next matchup here is Seattle v Texas. Surge versus OpTic.
Surge, man.
What do we think about the Surge, man? They were on a 5-game losing spree.
I want to hear your guys' hot takes about how they're still 11th in the league and BS like that. You guys were off the pack when you guys were talking about Seattle. When you guys were going through power rankings.
On a 5 losing streak.
I do not care. I do
they
not
lost
care.
To Boston. Then again, like they were on a 4-game losing streak.
That's because Boston's a top 6 team.
Then they lost. I mean, maybe they're 6th, but okay. And they lost to Boston. And it wasn't that close.
Okay, let's all agree that nothing was off the pack more than Rex's London take. Okay, that was way more off the pack.
But didn't both of you guys have Seattle like 11th or 10th in your power rankings?
I had Seattle pretty low.
Oh.
I mean, come on, my man.
I had 10th.
Last week,
here's my man.
They were horrible.
Here's the thing. They weren't horrible. They just lost a couple of bad maps. Their series versus Florida, there were pathways to victory easily on the Bocage, which is like Florida's bread and butter right now.
They lost 6-1 in Berlin to Florida.
Well, the Search and Strike was not good, all right? Okay,
horrible
that's fine. The Search and Strike was not good. But even the Tuscan Control, I felt like there were a couple of missed moments from Seattle, like just generally speaking. Regardless of that series in particular, I think that this Seattle team were the top team ahead of what Vanguard was going to be.
Of course.
I think there was something to be said about them not wanting to try to figure out a counter to themselves when it came to like their fast gut check play call on Respawn in particular.
Right.
And as teams like Thieves and London and Atlanta and OpTic started to learn about what Seattle was doing so successfully with spawn manipulation, Seattle fell into this hole of why is what we were doing 2 months ago not successful now? And now they're picking themselves back up by their bootstraps. I think this team is easily still a top 16.
See, I mean, I thought that they were going to, I thought they would eventually rebound, but man, I didn't think it was going to be I'm like, all right, they're going to struggle for the next handful of matches, I thought. And like, that's why I had Boston beating them. I was pretty confident Boston was going to beat them.
Tough schedule for them, by the way. I could see that.
Right. And they had a tough schedule. And I'm like, well, they're chalked. Like, this is so chalked for this stage. Like, we're not going to see a good Seattle till the major again. And then out of nowhere, like, again, like this, the Desert Siege, I was just like, that was so disorganized. They were picked apart by Boston. They weren't picking up lanes. Like, I was like, I don't see how this is just not fundamental at all. They're getting destroyed. And then you go to the FaZe series, and it's like a completely different team. Like, they played S&D's fantastic, and we're like picking up the whole map, playing map control. You could tell their comms were on point. Like,
so I have a theory about that Boston series.
It's crazy.
My theory in that Boston series was they were looking for map expansion against Boston. I don't think they picked that series veto-wise off of their strengths and Boston's weaknesses. I think they played that series based on map selection because they wanted to try something new.
Well, I mean, it would make sense, like, theory-wise, because it's like they're only, like, you know, they only have the Breach and LAG as quote-unquote easy matchups.
That is true.
Top three teams.
They picked their two worst hardpoint maps. Both
and they never play Desert Siege, and they never play Tuscan Control. I don't remember who won that coin flip, but
that is weird.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree with that.
Just bad vetoes.
I agree with that, but I mean, like, it was ugly, and like, you know, they lost by 100 on the Gavutu, and Breach picked them apart.
That's fair. Yeah.
Were you shocked by? Go ahead. Sorry.
And you know, the Bocage was close, but like, yeah, I don't know. I was just like, this is going to be a minute. And then, and that was, you know, a day later, they beat Seattle or they beat FaZe. Like, I just don't know. I don't know what the reason. I don't know the narrative. Like, nothing about that made sense. They were on a 5-game losing streak. And then they come out, it was like, you know, they win the S&D in round 11 against FaZe. And if that goes a different way, then maybe you get 3-0'd. Like, that's possible. So it's like, it could come down to something like that. But man.
Do we think that Mac continues that performance? Because that was a standout series from him.
I mean, yeah, that was the best series of the whole year by far from Mac, and it wasn't close against FaZe. Like, that was insane.
Yeah,
I'm still saying yes. Mac is that good. He's that guy.
Because I mean, he did not have a good stage one. He had a
stage one,
but in control he was good, but in search he was awful. And so it was like, that's why I was like, I just don't know if the team has the S&Ds. And after we saw the S&Ds against Paris, I was like, I'm out on the Surge until proven otherwise. And then I'm like, nice, I'm feeling good. They lost to the Breach. Like, this prediction's working out. And then, of course, slap right to the face. Surge are back with the win against FaZe. So I was just like, well, I don't know what to do now.
Because I will say, I'll go on the record. Like, I was down bad on Mac going into the season. And if he truly is like that good, I will 100% say, you know, I was wrong. Because like if Mac plays like that, like that is a scary Surge
the rest
team.
Of the year.
That's a very scary Surge team. Because I feel like
for sure
he wasn't the one doing that when they were winning a ton in the beginning weeks.
And when he was only doing it in control. But we saw in hardpoint here too, and that was what the difference was. Like, Mac was absolutely cooking in hardpoint. So
yeah, which again, like we said, like they have a tough stage 2 schedule.
Arguably
OpTic,
the hardest
Gorillas,
stage 2.
and Thieves. So if they start winning again, man, they're back for sure.
Yep.
Right. 100%. And like, man, when Pred, you know, I feel like every weekend, even in losses, he puts up these like insane 3 or 4 pieces that win him around or something on those lines. You're just like, holy, like, you know, you see it with a few guys in the CDL, and Pred's definitely one of them where he just snaps once in a while. But right now, you can still see the youth and inconsistency there. So, I mean, I think in the long term, Seattle's going to be fine. And that's why I kind of saw him as like a start hot, slow down a bit, and then catch fire again. But man, it was a little bit quicker of a rebound than I thought. So,
yeah.
As for OpTic,
so, we were wrong. Power rankings.
As for OpTic, what else is there to say? I mean, they worked on their map pool against LAT. They pull it out, and you basically saw all the players perform how you still thought they could, even though they still have some maps to work on. But which team doesn't right now? You know, all of them do.
Fair. Yeah,
so,
that's fair.
I mean, when it comes to OpTic, if they need to win a series, they know exactly what maps they need to veto, and they look really good on all the other ones.
I mean, technically, like, being honest though, like that was Thieves' game to win.
Truly was.
They
lost what, like multiple 2v1s, and like it was,
they choked that bad.
It was bad.
Which again, like I think I think it's true that they were obviously working on the map pool. So like if OpTic lost that would have been the worst thing in the world.
Tusken Search and Destroy is not their worst map.
Oh no. And LAT is not a good S&D team. So like, you know, if you would have lost both S&Ds to Thieves, that would have been a problem.
That would have been a problem.
Yeah, they do. It is crazy how one round, you know, changes the narratives like that. And that's kind of been OpTic season so far. But like winning round 11s or winning game 5s since the first 2 matches.
I was going to say, yeah, this is outside of the round 11s. They lost the first 2 matches.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Like, I mean, even though they lost those maps, like that Tusken win against in map 1 against Thieves was about as good of S&D or about as good of hardpoint as we've literally seen any team play this year. Like that was fair. Insane. So, all right, as for predictions, I mean, I think we're all probably on the OpTic side here.
So I actually have a question. Do my picks and predictions reflect Rex's scores?
They did. Yes, you are in place of Rex.
This puts a little bit more pressure on me because I got to make sure I treat Rex with all the love and glory that he deserves. while he's not here doing taxes.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I am curious, Josh, if OpTic would have lost like round 11, would this change your prediction?
No. I mean, like, it would have made me a little bit less confident, but I don't think this goes to 2 S&Ds in the first place. And I mean, you know, Seattle obviously depends on the maps.
Wow. So, okay, 3-1. Okay.
Uh-oh. Shift is tempted? He's tempted.
This is a difficult pretense for Seattle. If they play their best maps, we're looking at Bacage Tusken hardpoints. Yikes. OpTic is
that's what
so
you don't
want to
play OpTic at. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, Seattle's so bad at Berlin, bro. Like, you just...
But then OpTic's awful at it too.
0-4.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
So man, I think you
really
take your
risk it?
You take your chance on Berlin. 100%. It's OpTic's 0-4.
So does OpTic... The thing is, OpTic's not going to ban Tusken because it's by far their best hardpoint.
Yeah, wouldn't OpTic just ban Berlin?
Oh, yeah, OpTic
do you ban Berlin or do you ban Gavudu?
Ooh, actually, that's interesting. That is an interesting... I would ban Berlin.
I think I would... You can't ban Bacage or Tusken. It's just your 2 best maps.
You ban Berlin and then you...
But the thing is, like, that, like Tusken... Seattle is like, they're by far the best on Tusken. Like, you don't want them to be comfortable there, but you have to trust that your map pool is good enough.
I think OpTic's confident against Surge, and they'll take their chances.
I think so, too. So do you think OpTic bans their worst? Do you think they take off Berlin?
No, I think they leave Berlin. They probably, maybe they let Gavutu go, but I think they want to win in Berlin.
The thing about it, like, their Gavutu is, like, not a bad Gavutu.
No, I mean, they've won the last 2 they've played.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they beat FaZe on it and they beat someone else on it.
They beat FaZe
twice
here.
On it.
I'm going to wager here. I'm going to wager that Seattle will ban Bacage and OpTic will ban Berlin, giving us a Gavutu Tusken hardpoint.
Interesting.
And then on the search, both teams hate Desert Siege.
Yeah.
And I think Seattle, man. It's tough because I think OpTic will wanted to have some revenge on Tusken after a couple of misplays on the first and blood engagements. I don't know. I think this goes 5. And I think it's determined by who wins the control.
Ooh. Which has got to be OpTic, right? 90% win rate.
I mean, OpTic is the best control team.
They've also played 10 series and they've had coin flips 6 times. So they've always banned out Gavutu. So if this comes down to coin flip in Seattle...
But Seattle would way rather play Tusken.
I don't think so. I think they want to play Gavutu against OpTic.
Interesting, maybe. Yeah. That is fascinating. I'm going to go OpTic 3-1.
I'm going 3-2 OpTic. Another map 5. This is going to be a really fun series, though. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think it's going to be.
Dan, what are you doing?
I think 3-1 makes sense for me.
Yeah. Join the bandwagon. I mean, yeah,
but this is also like, I feel like this is like a game that OpTic very well could just lose.
You know what I mean? I think at this point, their fundamentals are actually at a point where they're going to be pretty consistent for at least a while as teams start to catch up.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
They have,
I think so.
It is interesting. Their S&D's in a weird spot where it's like, you know, hopefully, I just don't trust OpTic and S&D yet, even though they looked good at the major. but I'm still working towards that. So we'll see.
That's fair.
All right, next up, Minnesota versus Boston. These are two interesting teams here. Boston is a very fascinating team. Considering, since their major performance at the major, they beat the Mutineers 3-2. They beat the Legion 3-1. Then they lost to Ultra 3-2. Then they beat Seattle 3-1. I mean, Capsule broke the record. Oh, yep. Yeah. I mean, Capsule broke the record. Nero is the streakiest player in the CDL. The dude either tears it up or gets destroyed. It's like, it makes no sense sometimes. And Thieves is right now probably on a spree of 4 or 5 matches playing some really consistent Call of Duty here. And that's what the Breach have needed.
Solid right now.
Because at the beginning of the year, you're like, oh, here we go with Thieves again. And then it was like, okay, we're starting to go. And then this last series from Thieves was his best series of the year so far against Seattle. He looked great against Seattle. So it is going to be fascinating to see.
I know.
So thoughts here with
hard.
Boston.
Rokkr, you look at who Rokkr have beaten. They've beaten Legion. They've beaten Gorillas twice. And they've beaten OpTic on the very first week of the game.
Yeah.
So right now, I think this match is going to come to who do I have the least
confidence in.
And right now, I had the least confidence in Rokkr. Unfortunately, yes, they won they beat Paris Legion 3-2, but
yeah, and they won some hard points. Yeah, and they won some hard points finally.
Yeah, there's just some shaky plays out of them. Obviously, you can point at the Standy play, but that was probably just a brain fart at the end of the day for Standy, which whatever. But this Rokkr squad is just to me. It's just stale. Standy's obviously the GOAT, but I think it comes down to Major and Priesta. For me, and I don't know what to think of them. It's hard.
I'm hot on Major Maniac this year. I was talking about this with Slack. I was like, this is the first year since Gen G Major Maniac that I felt confident in the plays that Mike is making on the map.
Okay.
See, I wouldn't say confident, but he's been solid. That's what's tough for me. I mean, at the beginning of the year, he looked great. Was that kickoff or first 2 matches maybe against OpTic there? He looked really good. But I feel like since then he's been solid, fine.
I think I got to be careful here because you're going to clip this and put it all over Twitter.
I won't do that to you until you say it. I might.
I'm going to say it. I think Major Maniac is a top 5 main AR in this game.
Really?
Yes. He's putting himself in really good positions. I don't care necessarily about KD in this game because things happen where people just come around behind you and you don't get to have a gunfight. But I think what Major Maniac is doing, as far as the positions he puts himself in, he's putting himself in the right position. Mm-hmm. And you see that especially in Search and Destroy. He may not have the greatest Search and Destroy KD, but he's putting himself in the exact right position.
You're right. It's hard. My inner brain. There's only one inner brain. There's only one brain. It's inner.
Let me find out about your outer brain, though, Sam.
My outer brain, different story. Still, overall, though, when it comes to this matchup specifically, I think for me, I'm leaning more towards Breach. Personally,
I am as well.
Right. Agreed. I mean, Control's the problem for Breach, right?
Yes,
I mean,
2-8.
That's it. That's literally the only problem, by the way, for this team.
Pretty rough.
Which, I mean, that is 1/3 of the problems.
Or is it 1/5 of the problems?
That's fair. That's fair.
Depending on how you look at it.
It is closer to 1/5. If you're going to be bad at a game mode, it's Control. But I would say you asked the Seattle Surge last year, and they're like, man, I wish we were good at Control.
True.
They would have got to a lot more
totally
game
fair.
4s if they were good at Control.
Also, over the course of the last 3 years, the team that is best at the third game mode typically finds themselves at the top of the CDLs.
No, that's the thing. There's a really high correlation of being good at Control and being the best team in the league.
Yep.
And look at FaZe and Toronto last year. And
and OpTic this year. Yeah.
And OpTic this year. They're 10-1?
10-1.
There is definitely a correlation there. Generally, I mean, Control's around. There's certain moves on the map you're able to do at times, and you have to know when you're able to do them and when you can't. Whether you can hit through mid right now or you can't hit through mid right now, or whether you have time to wrap their spawn or whether you don't have time to wrap their spawn. And a lot of the fundamentals of counting kills and teamwork really come out right now, especially when it's kills based, because then it's all based around like gunplay and winning gunfights, and a lot of those slaying categories really come out in control right now. So it is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm on the Boston side here. I think Boston 3-1 makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because like you're looking at the hard points, and Breach's only negative hardpoint map is Bo3, which
Barely, by the way.
barely, and then it's the same on Rokkr. Rokkr is
Right.
0-2 on Bo3, so it's like if they're gonna ban Bo3, Breach has a pretty nice map pool. when it comes to
Otherwise, you're
hardpoint.
playing them on Tuscan, and Rokkr hasn't won Tuscan.
So
So
Well, they
it's
came
like,
close. They came really
Yeah.
They
close.
did come close against
They
Bears.
came 2 pinky toes close.
Against
absolutely.
Bears.
So
That's against Bears.
I'm giving both hard points to Breach.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, Rocker's going to win the control.
Yeah, Rocker's got the
Maybe.
control. I think Breach can get the S&D. 3-1 Breach makes sense to me.
I agree. Shift, do you have any other insights?
Outside of the map pool, which both teams are very, very dynamic in their map selection so far, I think the biggest problem for Minnesota is the combination of Nero and Caps. I've got Boston 3-1 as well.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It is interesting. Bro, do you have what is up with Nero, bro? Like this dude he's either dropping literally 12 streaks or he's going double negative.
I think the problem that Nero is facing right now is just knowing how to take an L on the chin and be patient for your next engagement. I
Interesting.
think we saw that a lot on Bakaj.
When he's cooking,
where
he's flying up the map. And when
absolutely.
and then he pushes it once in a while. I could see that.
Yep. I think it's just an overextension problem. I think if he waits a second longer for TJ or Zenny to help out, or if Caps is the one that's kind of cleaning up action behind him, wait for that little bit of help, and I think he'll be fine. The biggest problem was not necessarily the amount of deaths that he had last on Bakaj, but I think the biggest problem was how many traded kills that came through on him. It didn't really ever feel like he was able to play one kill and then play his life for a second. It felt like a lot of it was he tries to get into a spot, doesn't win the gunfight, tries to get another spot, doesn't win the gunfight, holds, gets the gunfight he wants, and then pushes out too far and gets slaughtered again. So I think it's just a patience thing. I think he'll be fine.
Fascinating. I'm with you. All right, next up, very big match here. FaZe v London. This probably should be our double points picks of the week.
It could be, honestly. Yeah.
It is going to be interesting. But boys, where are you at with this, man? I mean, I guess let's talk about FaZe. We already talked about London, so let's talk about FaZe.
Sure.
How do you feel? I mean, that was as weird of a series as you get from FaZe. Like, it is. I'm so confused.
They let Berlin through.
They let Berlin through.
That's, I think, first and foremost, where you have to look is they let Berlin through, which is something that, again, I think for Crowder and the rest of the boys, you look at this series, I don't think the qualifiers will ever matter even marginally as much as the major itself.
No.
So I would expect to see Atlanta, even in key matchups like this one, still allow Berlin through. I forget what it was. I think it had been Slasher that was talking about how, like, your practice in scrims, it almost feels like you do nothing compared to actually playing reps on the map in an actual match.
Yeah,
So-
even Shotzi was saying that with like their
Yeah.
practice. He's like, man, I
Yeah.
just feel like it's not, same things aren't happening. Yeah.
So I think
That is
I
interesting.
wouldn't be surprised to see Atlanta continue to try to build in their map pool, which is the smart run, smart thing for the long run. It's going to frustrate fans, I think, in the real time.
Interesting.
But when it comes to winning a championship at the end of the year, you can't just veto out Berlin all year long because you've
No.
got best of 9 grand finals. At most, if you're coming out of the winners bracket, you get to veto one map.
Right, and we saw that. I mean, like right now, the only map that they look like FaZe on is Bakaj. And then OpTic's like, see ya. And then they're like, and FaZe is like, oh no, we can't win another map.
Didn't win a hard point versus them. So I think
Yeah.
you have to keep some of your strengths in the mix. So I'm interested because I wouldn't be surprised to see them
London's
go back.
vetoing Bakaj, obviously.
Well, yes. I think with London trying to play for the points, play for the win, play for everything else, I think you take Bakaj off. It's been their hard veto all year long. I'm just curious to see if Atlanta's going to try to just want to win this match and hold
FaZe will
their
definitely
position.
lead
because-
Berlin in against a team who's not at least great at it, like London.
And the thing about it is this is a points implicating match since both of them are technically at the top of the current points leaderboard overall.
It's definitely an important match.
Yeah.
It is fascinating. I mean, this is very winnable for London. I mean, absolutely. Does Gizmo just coming back with not a lot of, not going to have a lot of practice under his belt over the last week and a half, does that matter to you? I feel
Not
like that
for
has to
me.
at least marginally matter a little bit.
Matters 0% for me after watching Paul fit into that system. It matters
Fair.
0%.
Fair.
I mean, this is so far from an Alex situation. Like it was literally 2 weeks. Like that, I'm not going to take it into consideration personally.
I wouldn't like take it into consideration, but I feel like it is at least something that's like noteworthy. Maybe he starts off slow, or depending on they don't have as much time to work on their map pool if they want to. So I bet they do play to their strengths in this series.
I would say, or he feels like everything's good, comes out and he's
Plays
back to
better.
old Joey
Yeah,
Gizmo. He
that's
goes back to
very
1.4 Joey Gizmo. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. So interesting. Okay, guys, where are you guys at with this then?
Go ahead,
I
Sam.
am fascinated.
Yeah, I truly do. I think London, like they're only going to get better. I know it sounds weird, but I think London, like they know they're a top 3 team right now, and they want to be the best. I don't know. Personally, I think London can take this. Part of the whole FaZe and Surge thing is like there's a story. There is like I don't even know, like what do you call that? What am I trying to say? There's a storyline. Narrative. That's the word I'm trying to think of.
I got you.
Yeah, there's narrative you can play out where it's like, you got FaZe who have just lost and they're angry, they're mad.
Right.
But
when does FaZe lose 2 in a row? They're gonna fry.
Exactly.
Those types of things.
But honestly, FaZe was round 11 away from 3-0ing Surge. So I mean that could have been a 3-0 easily. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess I'm trying to say. I
know. I mean, at the same point though, with the control, it's like, man, they could have lost that control. I mean, like, my problem with FaZe is like, they had 2 glide bombs to work with on that Kavoo 2.
Mm-hmm.
They had kills advantages, and they still nearly blew it. It was like, oh no, like what is happening here? Like this is not the FaZe you're used to seeing, like the python around someone's neck, like just closing it, finishing the job. Like they're not as efficient right now.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the people in my comments who are saying that Simp and Abizi aren't top 8 players right now.
Oh no! Who are
so
saying
many,
that?
so
Who's saying
many
that?
people.
Wow, really?
Oh,
Big time Scump and Shotzi fans right there.
Right.
How
How
do you not say they're not top 8 right now? That is rough.
I can't even name 4 other players that are better than
I was gonna say, how do you what's the rationale
I
there?
can name maybe
Anyways,
2, but if you're being really biased.
yeah.
So just saying,
bro,
all right, come on now. Yeah.
That's real rough.
There was multiple people in my chat that I had to have these discussions with during this weekend. I mean, they happened a handful of times. So long story short,
Gosh, and the thing is,
I honestly am so torn. Like this is as tough as a matchup as it gets for me.
I think I know where I'm going on
the
this.
thing is if this is a game 5, I feel like FaZe might take that like S&D, So it's like if London needs to win, it's like it needs to be a 3-1.
Last time they played FaZe 1-3-1, but like you're saying, you're using the Gizmo thing as this kind of like not excuse, but like reason, I guess, for some of the struggles there. I mean,
I don't know, man.
It is interesting.
We could see a copycat map selection, by the way.
From their
I think,
previous-
I think we'll see Berlin. I think we'll see Berlin, right?
Could. I don't think we
Because
will.
I think
for the
in a
hard
series
point.
like this, FaZe is willing to take the chance on Berlin against London in a not major setting. So
I know what I'm going. I've made my mind.
I'm going to go
for it.
FaZe 3-1.
Same.
Sam, if you love London, stand up.
Let me give you my rationale, Sam.
Yeah.
Because we're brothers from another
Yeah.
London mother.
What are you thinking?
When was the last time Atlanta lost 2 series in a row?
See, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like they don't lose 2 in a row.
They don't lose 2 in a row.
Oh man, but it's
Unless
London.
you count OpTic and then losing to Seattle, which I guess technically is 2 in a row, but
Technically,
I don't count that as 2
A
in a row
different
because it's not the
weekend.
same
No.
weekend. Yeah.
Dang, dude. Yeah, I mean, oh gosh, bro.
Well, especially 2 in a row to the same team. I mean, that's not a major, like you said. Like that's hard. That is rare. I mean, if someone does that, that means they're a top 2 team in the game. So if London, I mean, like FaZe, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, like maybe London learned something against FaZe last time. They bring it out. You can
Maybe.
use that narrative.
Mhm.
It's hard to be a team twice. Like I use narratives on both sides.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the ballsy play. I think I'm gonna write London 3-1.
I like it.
I'm gonna go for
like
it. I'm
My
not gonna,
heart is beating for you right now, Sam. My mind is thinking of Rex.
I'm not gonna do 3-2 because I think if it goes to game 5, I think FaZe take it.
I like that. Bold.
Gosh,
Yeah, I mean,
I
again,
know,
London was FaZe was. It's just interesting. Like, yeah, man, that's a fun series. That's definitely the series I'm most excited for this weekend. I think. Yeah. I mean, like, that's as fun as it gets. So, all right, next match: NYSL versus Paris. Game of the week.
I'm sleeping in.
So guys, we got to lean forward here, boys. This is where it gets exciting. So this is our official game of the week. This is the double points predictions. We don't even know if NYSL will have the same roster they have currently.
Will it be a new roster on either side?
Who knows? And yeah, you never know with Paris. Who knows? So,
oh my word.
Let's talk NYSL. Obviously, I put out a video today talking about their options and what this could look like. I mean, it's been bad. They are winless in hardpoint. They have been, which actually interesting stat though, they're actually only 6th in hardpoint scored per game. They actually score points in hardpoints.
Yeah, they do.
They actually play all right, but they're just not winning and they're just not converting any of them. It's just not happening. And there's different reasons. It seems like for every series, after you bring in royalty, there's different reasons, things like that. But man, it is tough. So, Shift, lead the way. What are your thoughts on these New York Subliners?
Here's what everyone should be talking about, and I think only Chance really brought it up when he wasn't even on broadcast for it. When everyone saw Crib saying he's going to pull out an MP40, I think the world was in consensus that it was going to be a 1-3 meta the entire day from New York. But they put Neptune on the automaton?
That was an interesting.
Bocage.
On everything, bro.
It's just everything.
That's like one of those, like, you could make a TikTok meme out of it. Tell me you don't know what's wrong with your team without telling me you don't know what's wrong with your team.
Well, having him run automaton on Gavutu is one thing, but on Bocage, when you can justify running 3 SMGs,
that was an interesting choice.
I did not at all expect that New York was going to come out and just have a flat out role swap between Crim and Neptune. Mm-hmm. That doesn't just tell me that this team has no idea what's going wrong with their individual, they have no hope with their team. Neptune is just freaking lost, bro. If he feels like he's got to pull out an automaton just to find any sort of value, give me a break.
Right. Yeah. My question is, was that Neptune's call or was that Crim's call?
No, that's D-Real's call. That's
you think it's D-Real? Really?
I think that's D-Real's call. I don't think
I
Crim
like
would
anything,
ever voluntarily give up automaton to Neptune.
I don't know. Based off his tweet, he was definitely, I don't know if he was just straight up trolling or what it was, but so I don't know. My thing is like this team, I just don't think that Clay and Crim ever thought this team was going to work since the beginning. I mean, there was the rumors that Crim and Clay were trying to drop Neptune before the kickoff event. Then they won 2 matches and they're like, I guess we'll give it a go and see what happens. And then they got body slammed and then immediately were like, all right, we were right. Take out Neptune. And then they brought in royalty, which again, I don't think ever made sense from the beginning. And they quickly realized, I just don't think the fit made sense for this team. I don't think royalty's a bad player, but it just didn't make sense for the Subliners. And then they're like, all right, well, we have no hope. Let's bring Neptune back and try a role change. What? This team desperately needs a roster change, and they need it now.
Mm-hmm.
But so does Paris.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, they're really both the same situation.
Get on the phone, boys.
But it's tough though. I think Subliners put their eggs in the basket of Crim and Clay, and now they're like, what do we do? It's not working out. And what can you do with a trade, with a buyout? Like, I don't.
Well, that's a tough narrative. It's like, again, from the beginning of the year, the one there was a handful of questions. And everyone knew that there was risk with the New York team, but everyone saw the what if. And I definitely was excited, very excited by the what if. And I know, Shift, I bet you feel good. You feel validated because you were low on Neptune from the beginning. So you can have your little victory lap here.
I don't love having
congrats, man.
This is one of those victory laps. This is one of those victory laps you take on a tricycle with a little propeller hat. It doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel like a win.
It is still a victory lap. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, like, I really thought, like, last year, I never thought that I always thought Neptune had the what if, and he just needed the right direction. But I think the bigger question here that I think we have the real answer to is like the what if of can Crim and Clay play on the same team in a 4v4 game? Like,
why? The thing about it, sorry, but like,
no, yeah.
Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, this game does not favor double AR meta. It's not Cold War.
Right.
It's not 2-2 splits. However, you can run 2 ARs on every map and find success with it.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
So like, it's that's the thing that really mind blows me the most is like you have two of the most historically greatest ARs in the history of COD. Now, granted, they also kind of serve the same more anchor style AR, but regardless of that,
And in-game
you can still
leader-
make, yeah,
They have a very
You
similar
could-
style overall.
absolutely. The thing about that is like if you both know if Crim and Clay are on the same wavelength from IGL standpoints and they're both running main ARs, there's no reason that it shouldn't be able to work. You direct your SMG, I direct my SMG. We both make awareness play calls happen over the map. Because the only map that I really worried about them was like Bacage. But the thing about it is like Atlanta is the best Bacage team in the game. And guess what? They run 2 main ARs, bro. Like there's
Right.
no reason that Crim and Clay together as 2 ARs are the problem. There's something more fundamentally going on.
That's fair. And like, I mean, that's the question. Like, but can FaZe do that because Simp and Abizi are on that team? Like, is that why they can run 2 ARs?
Sure.
Maybe.
And again, that still points back to Neptune. Like Hydra is not the problem.
No.
Obviously.
Obviously, you look at Royalty as well, and it's just like feels bad. Like I do think he's CDL caliber player, but
He
obviously
can be
that
banned.
situations could be absolutely.
Like he could be banned, but that's the problem is that they needed him to be Abizi. Like, that's not gonna work.
They need a Havoc. I feel bad saying that because I don't know how Havoc would form in the CDL.
I don't think that's my problem. Is I just don't think Havoc is the answer, even though I think they might go with Havoc.
I would love to see them pick up frickin' Johnny, bro.
Interesting.
I know he runs flex, but like I think he's got enough of a mind around him to be taught by Crim and Clay. He's
Right.
good enough with a sub in his hands, and he's young enough to be moldable. I think Johnny would be a hell of a fit
I'm
for
just
this.
not convinced that Crim and Clay can work. I think they're just both a little bit too slow for both of them to be on the map at the same time. Like, like even though like we've seen, 2 AR type duos work in this game. I mean, like obviously right now Florida is cooking, but the thing is Skies and Awakening have 2 of the nastiest gun skills in the whole game.
Fair.
Like that's just not the case with Crim and Clay.
Sky's not even running an AR though. That's the thing. It's Dave that's running that
true.
AR.
That's true. But I mean, like there are maps where they'll pull like Gavutu, for example, like they're
on
rock
the
and
3
roll in
ARs,
there.
right? Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they made that work in 2. So like with Dave as well. I mean, like but Dave also has a snapper on him. So like
Dave's good, bro. He's good.
he is.
He is.
And so I don't know. At least with New York, I feel like that at this point, just because of the pure gun skill that a lot of a team needs to have in this game just to win that 1 or 2 gunfights that break you into a B zone on Tuscan or like to snap on like those types of situations. Like, we saw like, moments where accuracy got turned on this weekend. Like I think it happened like twice. But like, if only accuracy's getting turned on, then it's no big deal. Like it's like it just happens once in a while. But
it's hard for me to completely accept though, like that the whole gun skill thing, because like honestly, Clay, like, and maybe I can't compare, and like I should be comparing to last year Cold War, but Clay was a phenomenal, like he put up kills last year, like
especially in like stage 2.
Yeah, like he's not like this, like I know the narrative is like him and Clay or him and Crim are like super slow, but I think Clay can very well be that fast, fast flex that they need to be. I don't know if I completely, agree with him being too slow, but I get the performance thus far.
I don't think he's too slow if he's the main AR. I mean, it's like we're seeing the formula that works. It's 0. Like you can be slow, but if your 3 other players are absolutely cooking, it doesn't matter. But Crim's never going to cook like that, like Gizmo or on a consistent basis.
I suppose.
That's my problem. So long story short, I just feel like that could be the issue. So,
it just almost feels like it's like a complete mental block at this point. Like they shouldn't have a 0 hard point Like,
Oh, no.
wins. Like, that makes no sense.
And that's why I think that's kind of my narrative from the beginning. Is I just think they just did not believe from the beginning that this team was going to work with Neptune, and then they quickly realized that royalty wasn't the answer. So either they need to add a new SMG in, or they need to split up Crim and Clay, and then bring in a flex and an SMG.
Option.
Yeah,
it's tough because
would you rather have Crim or Clay as your main AR with Hydra?
Crim.
I would say Crim because we already saw what Clay can do, so let's give Crim a chance. Because we saw Clay and Hydra last year. So I would say I still think that Clay could be a championship caliber player though. I really do.
Absolutely.
In the right situation.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Man,
but
that's
I just don't
tough.
think this is the right situation. So what do you think?
Tough.
PaulEhx, Brezzy. Can we get some sort of situation there where you
No.
bring them in as a flex or something like that? Crim to main AR?
And then what? Clay out.
Clay out, and then you bring in another SMG?
The problem with all of this, we'll talk about this at the end of the show, I know. So I'm not going to go too deeply into it.
Oh, yeah,
But
probably should
I think you
pick it up.
you need a main SMG regardless.
That's fair.
We should
All right,
pick
boys.
it up, by the way.
That's fair. No, yeah, we've been having a lot of conversation. It's just been too juicy. All right. Okay. So predictions wise, where are you at with NYSL in Paris?
Sheesh.
I mean,
I'm
if
not
we're just going off based off of what we've seen, I mean, you got to go Paris, right? How does New York not win a hard point and win this?
I mean, it's the same reason why Minnesota can win a hard point against Paris. Because they finally won one. Or
Yeah,
why the
true.
Ultra finally are winning hard points against Minnesota. It's because they're not very good at hard point. So, I mean, to be fair, Mutineers, the last 5 matches, Thieves, Breach, FaZe, Thieves, Ravens, Mutineers.
Wait, Mutineers. Wait, what?
So the Mutineers would be the one. But I mean, Mutineers has been on a tear.
Okay.
The Mutineers have been on a tear. Beating Surge 3-0, Game 5 Breach, beating the Gorillas 3-0, beating Subliners 3-0. So it's not like they're just bad. Mutineers are definitely not a bad team right now. So it's like, what I'm saying is that New York hasn't played the bottom 4 teams yet.
Yeah. I'm going to go Paris 3-1. I think New York will take the control probably. Otherwise, I think there's no way but up for Jimbo. And then New York, there's still a lot of question marks. So that's kind of the game plan.
SMBs are winnable though for Subliners too. I don't know, man. I'm going to go Subliners. I'm going Subliners.
Yeah, you are.
I mean, I'm not going any more than 3-2. Don't get me wrong. I'm not crazy. But I'm going to go Subliners 3-2.
You know what day it is today, Josh?
Oh, what day is it?
The day before March Madness, and we're starting the madness early. I got 3-1 New York. Shout out ShadyNero.
They're winning.
Shout out.
They're winning a hard point. You're guaranteeing them a hard point win.
Respawns. All 3 respawns, they win.
Wow.
Holy, are we talking?
Is
this a
March
prediction
Madness.
are you predicting them winning this with Neptune and with Clay and Crim? You don't think the roster change happens before Friday?
No. Maybe. I don't know. I don't care.
Okay,
They're winning all
this is
3
Saturday.
respawns.
This is on Saturday.
They're winning all 3 respawns. I don't care.
All right, I'm down. I love it. I'm taking the risk too. I'll take the potentially new roster 3-2. Say I'm taking the much safer pick here.
That's amazing.
All right, Florida versus Texas up next. I mean,
it's a spicier than it looks.
I mean, this is Florida's. This is their right hook, left hook. This is the one that could establish themselves. Would this not be on brand for Florida to win? Although I think what would be off brand for Florida to win is for them to win 3 straight. I don't think we've ever seen Florida win 3 straight matches.
Hey, they're technically on 4 in a row right now, so no, I'm sorry, I'm totally lying. They're 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4.
I'm totally trolling. What am I talking
I swear,
about?
what has always happened is they beat one average team, then they beat a great team, and then they play a terrible team and lose. This is just kind of like how the narrative goes.
Florida's always been the most unpredictable team in the CDL. That's the only thing you'll ever know.
It's so
Since Modern
frustrating doing
Warfare.
predictions. It's so frustrating.
Yeah,
it's like, all
it's
right,
insane.
I finally got Florida figured out. Here we go. Womp. Nope.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
I mean, talk about Awakening and Skies right now looking like the hard point gods. Like they have looked insane. I mean, just
Wait, you're gonna
respawns.
disrespect my boy Reese, dude. Vivid has
Vivid's been playing well.
Lights out this
For
last
sure.
week.
But I mean, Awakening's been the highlight. I mean, Big Wake has been
that's
the
true. Wake's been
the
good.
man in hard points, to say the
Looking
least.
good. Looking good.
And Skies was kind of the highlight player this weekend.
with
Alongside
nothing
I
but
would
a
say.
sub, dude. That was the craziest thing.
I know, man.
The double AR, I thought for sure was going to be guys
It's interesting.
and Dave.
Florida was
Pumped
definitely
first
going into the year a slow burner team for me. I thought this team could make sense, but I was really hoping they wouldn't bail on Dave Patty too quick because I wanted to see what they could do over the long term, and hopefully we're starting to see some of those benefits here. I'm tempted, but it's not. I mean, it's OpTic.
No.
OpTic's going to win 3-1. It could be
Here's
a 3-0.
the problem. Florida is the most one-dimensional team right now in the CDL. They win series where they play their 3 favorite maps: Bacage, Hardpoint,
And
Tuscan
Tuscan.
Search, and Tuscan Control. That's it.
That's-
any other time
that's
there's
true.
any other map, they don't win the series. Like flat out, pretty much.
Yeah,
You
that is
they
pretty
have
true.
to have those 3, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Two good news is OpTic's down to square up on Bocage.
Yeah,
But are you going to beat
I
OpTic on
just-
Bocage?
Yeah, I think that there's the question of, are you going to beat them in the first place on Bocage? But then more importantly, are you going to beat them on Tuscan Search and Tuscan Control? I don't
Right.
think so. I've got OpTic 3-0.
Honestly,
That's fair.
that's a good narrative too. Dang. Yeah. I mean, literally, like you look at their past matches: Bocage, Tuscan, Bocage, Tuscan, Bocage, Berlin, Tuscan. But it's like, yeah, it's right there. I'll give them a map. I'll say Texas 3-1.
Yeah, it is fascinating. Like, Tom Ryan replied to my tweet. GM of Florida.
Over 2. How about you
Of
say over
course.
2?
Nice.
Oh, I'm
Huge.
sorry, Ogre 2, of course. But
Hail
now
legend.
legend. And he was like, and he said Berlin's their best hard point, but they don't play it because nobody wants to play it against them because in scrims they look amazing. So. Interesting take. I mean, obviously we don't have the proof of that from our perspective, but from his perspective, apparently he's saying that Berlin's actually their best hard point. So I don't know. That is something to consider. Maybe we see it this
Why
series.
don't they pick it?
Apparently it's getting vetoed.
Oh,
But
maybe.
I don't know. So it is fascinating. So all right, Boston, Toronto up next. Interesting for the Ultra. I mean,
Wait, that's cap. London has never vetoed Berlin hardpoint.
wait, are you saying
And-
against them?
Ever. They've never vetoed Berlin hardpoint, and they played them in the first series of the year. Maybe it was map 4 and they just got 3-0 too fast.
I could check that.
I'll take his word for it.
He's like,
GM
wait,
after all.
call him out right here.
Yeah. So let's go. Boston and Toronto.
That's amazing.
Ultra beat Rokkr 3-1, and pretty solid series for them. They lost the round 11 where they, where they nearly full sailed Rokkr. That was as close as it got. It was as close of a full sail as you could get
Dude.
in that S&D on
That would have
Tuscan
been the first one since like Petro Search, right?
since the Rokkr. Yeah. So like that was
Since
the
the
Rokkr
Rokkr.
avoided being the only team to ever be full sailed and then do it twice. But we also had the other full sail scare where Big Wake he hit himself with a streak.
Yeah, that was great. That was great.
But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know how to feel about the Ultra right now. Like it's just tough coming off the major where they didn't win a hard point, and then now they've only beat the Rokkr in a hard point, and Boston's look pretty good. I see this going. I mean, Rocker's probably going to win. They're going to win the control for sure. I'm interested.
Rokkr, you mean? Wait.
Oh,
What
I'm
are you
sorry.
talking about?
Ultra are going to win the control for sure.
Oh.
So depends if they can win. Can they win a hard point?
Ultra?
Yeah.
Yes.
They've only beat the Rokkr on hard points basically.
It's fine. Think about the losses that they had to especially Boston at the major.
Right.
Mhm.
Two
They
very
beat them 2-3-5.
winnable maps. Two
Yeah.
very winnable hard points though for them too.
I agree. I'm going to go the
like-
safe route here.
Yeah?
I'm going to go Ultra 3-2 and a nice safe 3-2 cozy pick here.
What are you thinking, Sam?
I'm thinking Ultra for sure. It's unfortunate. I had really high hopes for Ultra, and I still think they can really. I still think they're a great team. They just have some things to figure out, obviously. But yeah, no, I've got them. I'm gonna say, man, I've been doing a lot of 3-1s today.
I mean, the problem is 3-1 means you're beating him. You're for sure beating him in a hard point. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like 3-2 is logical here, or else Breach are winning.
I'm gonna go 3-2 Toronto.
I mean, Ultra won the round. It was that round 11 on Berlin against Boston. Like that was a close series. And then the game 5 S&D went 6-4.
Have been close this year.
Oh, Search has been very close this year, very competitive. But Rex or Sam, where are you going?
3-2 Ultra.
Okay. Shift, where you at?
I think this Toronto team learned a lot from the major. Their only problem at the major was the hard point. I think they've fixed those problems. I've got this going 3-1 Toronto.
Ooh, okay.
I'll either give Boston map 1 or map 2. One of the two. Whatever their pick is, I think they win their pick and then they lose from there on out.
Okay, fair enough. All right, next match.
Man,
Seattle and LAG.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I mean, LAG is in a really weird spot. It's so hard. I mean, like, what do you feel about LAG right now?
Not good.
Is this a process, or do you see a roster change sooner than later? I guess we can maybe it's a spoiler. I don't know, man. I hope they stick it way out with this roster. I think this is a process roster, but
it's so tough, bro. Because that series versus Florida, like, we got off of that watching that.
It was close.
And it wasn't just the fact that it was close. It was close for the wrong reasons. It was close because Asim and Hook were having monster series, and Gunless and Slasher were like absent. And then they turned around and played Paris, and it was Slasher and Gunless that was dominating.
And that was the best series they've had in the whole year.
But
as a combo,
it was versus frickin' Paris.
It was against Paris.
True.
And right in their first weekend as a squad, it's just like it's hard to take away from. And that was their first match as a squad.
Who did they play? Who?
Didn't Paris play them first? They played Minnesota.
I was just saying who else.
LAG was
have to play. They still have to play LAT and Texas. Yeah,
it's gonna be tough.
That is a yikes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to know. I mean, right now Berlin is the only at hard point that they're like really competitive at. Like
Seattle doesn't like Berlin, so
yeah, I think this is a either 3-0 or 3-1 Seattle for sure. I'm down to go with 3-0.
Really?
I'm going to go Seattle 3-0. Actually, I don't know. I don't love that, but I'll go with it.
Actually, I don't know. I'll go Seattle 3-1. Boring old me.
Trying to get Rex as many points as possible here.
Yeah, these are big.
3-0 Seattle.
All right.
I'm hot on the Seattle team, man. I think that they really had turned a leaf. I think that they realized where their problems were. I think Pred coming out of the series from Dallas, he was overchalling. I feel like he didn't super overchal, especially versus Atlanta.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, I don't know. This weekend will tell us if Seattle is just the FaZe killers and that's all they are, or if we really, I mean, if Seattle loses to LAG, like
trouble. I don't know. The thing about it is like
nothing will make sense.
I think if you're Phoenix here, if you're Seattle, you're coaching Seattle up. If you're Phoenix, you just have to tell Pred to like, yo, just get a guaranteed kill versus Asim or Hook. Don't let them pop off and we win the series.
For sure.
Don't let them go on streaks and you win the series.
That's the problem is like when you let Asim and Hook like roam in S&D, like it's going to be a roaming battle between Pred and Asim and Hook. Let's just see what happens. It's going to be interesting. All right, next one. LAT and Minnesota, two teams that who knows what's happening right now. I mean, LAT got 3-0 body bagged by PaulEhx and the Ravens. And then came out, looked better against OpTic, where they got smoked on Tuscan. Then they win 6-0 Desert Siege. Then they get 3-0'd on Tuscan Control. And then Thieves come out, win Berlin. I don't know what to make of this. They lost 2 Gavuchus against London.
I'm not too down on the Thieves yet. Like,
me neither.
What?
They've only lost to OpTic, Ravens, FaZe, and Ultra. Like,
love this about you, Sam.
Like that's not like when you hear that, that's not crazy at all. I mean, those are like
right. So you think they'll take care of
top
business?
3 teams.
They'll take care of business. Is your thought process?
Absolutely. And again, like you're looking at a Rokkr squad.
This is a 3-1 LAT. They're not going to lose a hard point to Rokkr, right?
No way. There's no way they lose. No, because the best Rokkr maps are Berlin, Gavudu, maybe. Like,
which is what we saw last time.
There's no way. There's no way they LA Thieves lose a hard point.
And if anything, since the major, LAT's gotten better at S&D.
And again, like if that we were round 11 away from them beating OpTic, and then their only loss would have been to FaZe, London, and Ultra, which would have been like, okay, you're looking at the squad like, okay, these guys have a ton of potential.
Right.
Like,
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I've got 3-0 actually. You know what? I like Thieves 3-0.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'll give Minnesota the control. I give them the coin flip.
Yeah, I mean, I think control or S&D is winnable for Minnesota for sure.
Yep.
So I'll go the 3-1.
I'll give them 1. I'll go 3-1.
Fair enough. And then our final match of the evening is ATL.
ATL.
Or
same letters, different order.
And this is interesting. Again, I mean, everyone needs this. At this point, it's become almost a little bit of a fun rivalry now with FaZe and Ultra.
I mean, you
last time FaZe won 3-0.
Yeah, you got to go
so
FaZe
unless
here.
we think there's something up with FaZe that's actually a real problem here, which I don't, based off our last conversation, I don't think any of us do. So I agree with you. Unless we think the Ultra are turning a little bit of a page. After this win,
they're turning a page. It's just
Rokkr.
How many pages did they turn a page, or did they turn?
Are they going
a
to the back of the book, or are they just going like at what chapter?
Yeah, are we using the glossary to our advantage, or are we just kind of surfing through the pages until we come across our keywords? That's the real question right here.
They're still on the Control F. Like they're on digital books right now.
There you go.
First of all, Control F is a lifesaver. So
it is.
It is. Maybe it has more of a cheat code, more of a Celium thing. That glitch spot on Gavutu though from Celium, that was sick.
Dude. That
was nice.
I'm going to be using that one, no doubt.
We're going to be seeing that in ranked play all the time now.
Sam,
great.
Explain yourself.
3-0. Yeah, no,
okay,
3-0.
they're bringing it back.
You're going to straight 3-0, huh?
I'm feeling hot on the 3-0s on the last 2 games. I don't know why.
Yeah,
but,
you're getting angry. This is delirious late night, early morning Sam.
No, I think FaZe is angry. I think FaZe is. We've seen an angry FaZe last year.
They were embarrassed.
And it was gross how good they were after they lost. So I don't know. I think FaZe is going to come back. I think they're fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. 3-0.
I mean, Shift, me and you have been mostly on the same page today.
Have we? Man, I hate that.
I know. I mean, that's bad
worst.
news. That's bad news.
Especially with Josh.
I am not channeling my inner Rex right now. I can feel
you did pick New York. So that's good.
I had to pick New York. But I also think New York's going to win that series.
Agreed.
Here's the thing. Toronto done messed up by not vetoing Bacage at the major.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, same thing with Surge playing against them. Like, why aren't you vetoing Bacage?
Correct.
Get that out of here. They're not making that mistake again.
No. And I think the thing is, I don't think they really fully realized what it was that Atlanta was doing on Bacage. Because before that series, Toronto was competing through the qualifier against good teams on Bacage.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll let Bacage get through, which means Tuscan will be on the table, which I think is going to be really interesting if we see those two teams square up on Tuscan. Figuring that, again, this is an important match for points. So Atlanta doesn't want to just give this away by, just playing whatever maps they
want this one.
Absolutely. So I think this one goes 5 to Atlanta. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, 5 to Atlanta.
Shift.
Yep.
You're stealing my thunder.
Spreadsheet.
You're stealing my thunder.
It's in.
Love that.
See, I mean, I've been teetering between 3-1, 3-2. FaZe, man, I don't know. That last series against Surge really did scare me, though. I'm legit worried a little bit here. But again, I just don't think. But it depends down. Not worried, but in the sense that I think FaZe just going to buckle up here now, win their matches. Like, all right, we're not going to take our chances on vetoes anymore. We're going to play our maps that we think are actually advantageous here, or are we just going to keep chilling? I'm not sure. With that said, I think FaZe clutches up. I'm going to go 3-1, I think. So we are across the board here on the map counts on our final match of the day. FaZe 3-1, clutching up the hard point, map 4. I think that makes a lot of sense. So,
but you had me for 3-2 though, right?
Yep, I got you for 3-2.
Okay, cool.
We're rolling. So there it is, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I forgot to even show the predictions for most of this segment. So I'll show this for the
How
YouTube
dare
game
you,
real quick.
Brainiac.
We're rocking and rolling. I know, Brainiac. Yo,
you're the awkward child.
Weird guy, awkward kid. Shut up.
You're literally the most awkward person on this podcast.
Dang it.
You're literally the most.
back to the third grade playgrounds I go.
Oh my god,
It's tough out here, man. I haven't figured out how to talk to people yet. It's been 20 years. But all right, so without further ado, let's just talk real quick. Our hot seat rankings. Are there a few players you're interested in? Obviously, it would center around NYSL right now, and those hot seats. So probably number 1 and 2 is just like Crim, Clay, and Neptune is 1, 2, 3 on the hot seat right now.
Yeah,
in any sort of order.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you who got out of it was Florida. Florida who got out of the hot seat.
Yep, they're out of it. They're out of it for now, for sure.
Careful, guys. They're the most unpredictable team in the CDL.
That's true.
Let's not put all of our eggs in the same basket here, all right?
When they come next week and be like, Florida is on the hot seat again.
3-0. They're back on it. Is there any other players that you're at least a little bit worried about? LAG, maybe? Are there some of those players there, Shift? Anyone come to mind?
John.
Yeah.
John's on the hot seat.
Paris for sure, man. Something's got to go.
John, I mean, Jimbo, obviously, he is by far the one player that has to come out and perform. Otherwise, the general expectation across everybody who watches Call of Duty is that he's going to get dropped.
Yeah.
So, like, Jimbo is definitely, I think he is on, hell's doorstep when it comes to being in the hot seat. But I think John is definitely going to be in that position.
Not hell's doorstep.
Not hell's doorstep.
He's melting.
He's literally the seventh circle of hell. And John's like in the fifth.
Steaming hot right now.
I think John and Jimbo are by far the other two. Yeah, that makes sense.
Is there a player on LAG that you're worried about yet? Or is it just kind of like not sure, but we're keeping a distant eye on it?
It's tough because like both Hugh and Asim have been great this year. So it's not them.
Right.
So, I mean, like you kind of, if LAG continues to have struggles, I think the first person I look at is Gunless, just because the flex position is, I think, the easiest to sub people into right now with how many talented players there are.
There's a lot of options. Yeah.
Agreed. And I don't think Slash is a bad main AR by any stretch of the imagination. So I think the easiest call, if you were to look at LAG and you're going to put the GM hat on, it would be Gunless's position.
That's so rough,
but he's been playing well.
I feel like
for the most part, stage 1, he was solid. Like, I don't think there's an obvious move there that makes them better. That's the problem. Like, do you try a PaulEhx or something like that? Like with them, and could that be a fit that makes sense? I think Paul and that team would actually
fit in really nicely to that team.
That makes a lot of sense. Is there a team? I mean, let's say Legion, Subliners, Gorillas, PaulEhx.
Well, the problem about it is you have Spart on the bench at LAG, and he runs that flex role.
That makes a lot of sense. It would have
to be Spart first.
Fair. I'm just not convinced that makes them better.
I think people sleep on Spart, bro. He hasn't found himself a team of challengers yet, but bro, the last 2 years he's been unbelievable.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I don't think there's anyone else that comes to mind immediately. Besides like Rokkr. What if they lose both their matches this weekend? Which I think all of us have them losing both their matches this weekend to Boston and LAT.
Priesta,
and it looks like Priesta would be the guy.
Yep.
I mean, what do you do there? Like, that's a tough situation too. You'd have a lot of options.
The thing about the Rokkr Academy team is they're all in Spain. Who of the 4 of them have the ability to get to the United States quickly?
Right. And that would be the first question.
Absolutely. Because the 2 players you're looking at are by far Real and Lucky. And Lucky as a flex player would be the best option for them, even though I'm hottest on Real's potential. I think if it comes to where they're performing individually right now, Lucky is the better performer for that role.
And he has the resume of a long-standing time playing competitively too now at this point too. So that is interesting. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think that would be the other team to watch. And then outside of that, I don't think there's anyone else that's really that hot of a seat right now. I mean, unless Breach like really tank this weekend and like really struggle, but I don't see him making a roster change. Yeah, I agree.
No.
So
I like this team.
All right, there it is. I can't believe we've been going this long. So we got Intelligent and Irrelevant. We're rocking and rolling. So let's hit this Intelligent and Irrelevant, Sam, and you can blow our minds.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
Sam, we're on Intelligent and Irrelevant. What do we got? We can keep this quick because we just found out, breaking news, if you guys didn't notice, PaulEhx might be going to New York.
Yes. So all credit to Shift here.
Wait, this way. And that's ironic because this was Shift's poll, and we didn't know Shift was going to be on this before this. This worked out great.
So here we go. You are the new Subliners GM. What do you do out of these 4 options? Option number 1, keep trying the role swap with this roster. Option number 2, keep the same roster, back to the old roles. Option number 3, find a better cracked out sub for your 4th. Option number 4, make a blockbuster trade for Crim or Clay. So what do we think the people voted for?
This is what if they were the GM?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't, like I said, I just don't know if the blockbuster trade's possible. Like, I would look for it if I could find one, but I just don't know if the feelers are there for either of them right now.
Yeah.
Like we said with option 3, finding that second sub.
This is why I like the idea of Paul, is that it just gives you options.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the people are going to say, wait, what was 2?
2 is keep the same roster and then back to the old roles.
I think they're going to say 1.
So keep trying the role swaps.
Oh, no,
Whoa.
I'm dumb. I thought they were going to say 3. My bad.
3 is
Okay.
find a better cracked out sub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. I'm going to vote for 1 just because. And holy crap.
I did not expect this.
Holy crap.
I did not expect this at all, Sam.
73% went with option 4. Make a
Out
blockbuster
of
trade for Crim Clay.
323 total votes, by the way.
So people think Crim and Clay are not going to work.
I thought for sure it'd been 3 by a landslide. Wow.
Like I said, like in my tier list, when I said Clay wasn't playing as bad as people thought he was, I got absolutely toasted. Like, he was the worst player of all time. Like, he is literally the biggest garbage on earth, is what the people think Clay is.
The
was
COD
insane.
community is so quick to turn their backs on a take from 6 months ago.
That's
and I
crazy.
made that list after 6 matches. Like, we've seen 6 matches of NYSL, and like Clay has now, you kind of forgot that this dude has won multiple COD champs and is literally one of the best players of all time. In
2
like
of which were in a row, by the way.
6 matches.
Dang.
Yeah. But
I mean,
All right.
my whole thing was, and I've said this a couple of times, and I have the comment of it. Like, I actually voted for initially, but my whole thing was, I don't know who picks up a Crim or a Clay, because the AR slot is so locked in across
so
the league for the
stacked.
most part.
it just feels lateral moves at that point. Like,
Yeah, that's the thing, is you'd have to be like, we take your main AR for one of our main subs. Like, that would have to be where the flop is. And the only team that really has that problem right now is Paris, like, kind of.
and Clay and
Paris
Crim
isn't
don't
gonna
want to
make
go
any
to
moves.
Paris.
Nobody wants to go to Paris.
And Paris ain't going to pay that contract.
No, they're not going to pay any contract. They're paying everyone league minimum right now. So
Yeah.
there's no chance. So I don't know what move you make.
The only
Like,
other
it
move
have
would be
to
is like if Seattle, like if accuracy was just getting
His accuracy,
destroyed.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, bring in that. Or if Major Maniac, like if he just started getting destroyed, and then maybe you
Minnesota
could,
won't get rid of Standy, though.
right. And so it's like, unless it's just a straight up pay for Clay trade where you bring in Clay or something for that roster. But I just don't know. And like pair Clay and attach again. That'd be a fun time, but
That would be a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
All right,
so
Sam, read some of the
yeah.
few reply or two.
Few comments. Brian Witt says, I think there needs to be a 2 to 3 player change, but there is zero market for Crim, Clay, Nep at this point, so I don't see a trade. The boring answer is C6 on main, then pick up PaulEhx and Havoc, which is very
And
interesting.
Havoc. That's the thing, is like, you would have to pick up somebody else.
Yeah, with the PaulEhx. Yeah.
Right. Like that was the thing. I was like,
Yeah, we have Icy Ethan says, I feel like trades don't work very often because one team usually gets the bad end of the deal. I think you bench Clay or Crim and pick up a PaulEhx or something. I don't know. In 4v4, I just don't think those two can team. Side note, I like Wendy's. Okay.
I almost ordered Wendy's today, actually. I decided to go Chick-fil-A instead.
I do like Wendy's too.
that's high quality right there.
Cade says, option 5, keep Hydra, drop the other 3, and pick up 3 challenger players out of the elite.
Wrong.
That's
Stupid, dumb producer.
Terrible.
He's our producer for Clutch GG, by the way. Just
That's
in case anyone's
amazing.
wondering.
I was like, oh man, we are roasting today. That's amazing.
It's nothing personal.
We do have a solid comment here from Gersh, option number 5. I blame everything on the social media manager.
That's actually facts, honestly. It really, the whole problem stems with Gersh. It really does.
Yeah, I don't know if there's another option. I think that kind of is it.
Oh, that word.
Man,
We actually have like 2 other comments that say chalk everyone but Hydra. It's like, okay.
Think about, like, not only is that not logistically going to happen,
Yeah.
I just don't think that is going to work for any team.
No, I don't think it
No.
would work for. I don't think that would work well for Hydra personally. Like
No,
like
because then
him
what?
as a
Now
player.
he's the alpha and he's got to be the
Yeah,
IGL.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. So that's what we got.
Right. Interesting. Well, that's a blast, boys. Shift, you make us just start spewing. I don't know what's happening
I'm
here.
so
but like,
sorry, dude. This
we
is the
went like
longest
2
episode
hours.
ever.
Yeah,
You
this
know
is
what's great though about this episode?
yeah.
You?
Even episodes that I'm on, I still listen to. So I can already picture the amount of 6, 8, 10, 12 foot putts I'm going to be making while listening to this 2-hour podcast.
I'm
the short
jealous.
game is going to be dialed.
Let's go. I mean, yeah, this is a lot of practice. I mean, that's the whole 2 hours. So
That's
there
a
you
whole 2 hour
guys. I mean,
practice.
boys, you got blessed out there. 2 hours of I hold Shift in your ears. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
that is like the
who wouldn't
goat
want
in
that?
your ears. Holy.
A lot of people wouldn't want that. I don't want that.
yeah. So it's been a blast, boys.
don't
But
want that.
again, shout out PrizePicks. You use code Bo3Pod and you'll get they'll double your initial deposit up to $100. Big plays, and tweet us your picks, Bo3Picks on Twitter, hashtag Bo3Picks, and you'll enter in a giveaway. Appreciate you guys for listening. Shout out Shift for joining us. The emergency sub again, always coming in clutch.
Yes, thank
and
you.
we appreciate you. And also shout out Shift. When you do that, when does the show come out with Slack each week?
We do the first blood every day before the CDL starts.
Boom.
Perfect.
There it is.
We
It's
love
March
that.
Madness time. Who you got?
Go Hoosiers.
Go Hoosiers. Let's go. You heard it here first. And appreciate you guys. But as always, I'm Josh. That was Sam. To our far right was Shift. And this has been the Best of the CoD Esports Podcast. We'll see you next time. Peace.